Greetings, I'm Caffeine Rage and welcome back to the Sunday Sampler. This week we're going to be doing something a little bit different from usual. I'm feeling a little self-indulgent since the winter sale is going and YouTube absolutely loves top 10 lists, so these are coming together once again on my channel for another bunch of cheap games to check out. As per usual, these are all games that I've played and can recommend. And with the exception of one game, these are all non-review copies this time around. So I've bought these all myself throughout the years and spent way too many hours playing some of them. And if a game isn't mentioned, well, feel free to mention it in the comments below or check to see if it was in the previous two iterations, because I could just be missing one, or I could have just not played it enough to feel like I warned being able to talk about it. So enough gabbing about, let's kick off with the first one. And these are in completely random order, so I guess that does sort of negate the whole top 10. Anyway, let's get started. Let's start with what happens when you take a Monty Pythonian look at world history, throw in some pulp culture references, then a little bit of tower defense, and some bowling for a good measure. What do you get when you mix all those together? Well, outside of a glorious mess filled with spam and a lot of rented shoes, you could also come up with Rock of Ages. The object is simple. Roll your boulder down the hill, avoiding or just simply crushing whatever gets in your way, smash over the fortress at the foot of the hill, and then smush whatever figure from world history happens to be inside. Of course, the computer is trying to do the same to you at the same time, so you also need to spend some time building up your defenses on your side of the hill, trying to stop or at least lessen the impact of the AI's boulder before he gets smashed into yours and smush you. Fast-paced, silly, and with some very interesting boss encounters that throws things for a loop. Now from the silly to the rather mundane, if there's a game that shouldn't be judged solely by its cover on this list, it would be Thomas Was Alone. On the surface, it really doesn't look like much. All the characters are blocks, and while there's some rather nice lighting effects, it doesn't look that much different from some of the Steam Direct trash that's coming out these days. However, a rather surprising story, some great music, and witty narration makes this rather mundane-looking puzzle platformer something really special. Definitely not for everyone, obviously, and it is a tad short, but not bad for the sub $5 range. Not at all. If moving left or right isn't your idea of a great platformer, how about going up instead? Grow Home is a climbing platformer from one of Ubisoft's smaller dev teams, and in it you're tasked with growing a giant beanstalk-like plant to some rather dizzying heights. Sounds simple, right? Well, it's not. Not when you have to climb it yourself, and get the plant to hook into some floating, glowing island thingies to make it reach even higher and higher into the sky. Movement does take a little bit of getting used to, but after a bit you'll have Bud, that's the little red robot you see flailing on the screen, scurrying all over the place, collecting energy crystals, finding secrets, and of course trying to grow his way back home. Oh, and I do have a Let's Play of this game if you wish to see more of Grow Home. Yeah, just a little shameless self-promotion. For the longest time, I didn't really get into the ARPG genre. It wasn't for lack of trying on my part, it just never really clicked for me. That wasn't until I tried the demo for Torchlight II that it all changed. Fast-paced, impactful combat with plenty of options for character progression, something some of the more recent ARPGs I've played seem to have forgotten to include, and a flexible pet system that makes the game easy to pick up, but if you start diving deeper, there's a lot of room to improve and find some interesting combination of talents, weapons, and spells. Although the future of the official servers is in doubt with the death of Runic Games, the dev of Torchlight II, proper LAN support in this game means that there's always going to be a way to at least venture with your friends. If you want a game that's a little harder to find, look no further than Steamworld Dig. Borrowing a bit from platformers, a bit from Metroidvania, throwing some mining and a lot of exploration, you got something that's kind of hard to describe and unless you want to throw subtlety out the window and just label it an action-adventure game. While it does get a bit grindy in its gameplay loop, especially at the start when you're establishing yourself, the world has a lot of interesting lore and mystery if you wish to dig deep down enough. Literally. Very much worth checking out if you wish to have something a little bit different. Now, you may be looking at the screen and be wondering, what the hell is this? Don't worry, that's normal. This is a Zachtronics game after all, in this case, Spacechem. Spacechem is a programming puzzle game where you assemble various compounds out of molecules by moving them around with tiny programmable robots in a reactor, breaking or creating bonds between various elements to create new compounds or just break them down into their base elements. The puzzles are open enough where, beyond the tutorial, you're given enough freedom to really approach the problems in several different ways, yet it's still challenging enough that nothing feels like a breeze. There's always that sense of pride and accomplishment when everything starts coming together and you see everything just fire off just right and the level completes. Also, if you love tinkering with your designs, there's the high score charts where you could try to climb for speed or efficiency, or just try to beat your friends. It really scratches that tinkering itch just right for me. And when I was recording the gameplay footage, I ended up playing for over an hour, just messing with my various designs and trying to get just a little bit faster and a little bit cheaper. The Flatout series is not one to tread into lightly. There's some really good entries and some very, very bad ones. One of the better, if not the best of the series, is Flatout II. For those who've never heard of Flatout, or by extension Flatout 2, it's a down and dirty, no-holds-barred arcade racing game, where sometimes the best way to win the race isn't to go around, but through your opponent. In fact, you're encouraged to do so. Also, well, the AI is often just as willing to throw down, not just with the player, but with one another, littering the track with car parts, bits of scenery, and of course more than a few explosions. Many positions could be won or lost with not clean racing, but a well or sometimes ill-timed crash. And if racing is not enough, there's also the Demolition Derby that can be rather explosive, minigames including bowling without a fat annoying cousin, and you have one hell of a package. Roguelite beats bullet hell twin-stick shooter. That's Enter the Gungeon in a nutshell. Or would it be a bullet casing in this case? Very tough to beat, and I admit I barely even scratched the surface of the game's secrets and unlocks myself, but I've been having a blast with it. The game has always felt fair to me thus far. I didn't feel screwed over by a lack of luck or, well, lack of power. Just lack of skill or lack of knowledge. A must-try for fans of the game's genres. How did it take me 3 iterations of this list to bring up Civilization? One of the best, if not the best known of the grand strategy genre, Civ 5 needs little introduction, but let's do it anyway. If you'd ever heard of the Civilization series, you guide your civilization from pretty much pounding rocks together to launching rockets, with all the struggles in between. Will you make friends with your neighbors and let your culture reign supreme, or dominate through military might? The choices are yours, and through them, you guide your people to a brighter future. Or just annihilation. You won't find out until you take your next turn. While the game is far better with its expansions and some of its various civilization packs, just starting out, you really just need the base game to get a feel for things, to be perfectly honest. Oh, and one last thing. If you've never played the game, do not bully Gandhi. He may not start many fights, but he sure knows how to finish them. And that is us done this time around. As always, constructive feedback is greatly appreciated. Did I miss something? Should something not be on the list? Let me know. Like I said in the very beginning of this, about 10 minutes ago now. Or if you don't really have anything to say, but want to let me know that you've enjoyed or hated this, hit the appropriate buttons and subscribe if you wish to see more of the Sunday Sampler. It's rarely lists, but you never know what can happen. It's originally what is supposed to be all just first impressions videos, so who knows, maybe in the new year I'll do something different with it. But then again, that does require the interesting games to kind of draw up. Anyway, thank you for watching, and have a Merry Christmas. I'll see you next time.